Do you want to be a business owner, a content creator, or both? I think this is an important question to ask when you're on the journey because it's going to impact the type of advice that you follow and the way that you want to build out your platform. I was talking to somebody this week and we had this conversation. There's this creator that both of us follow, and she was asking me a question about something that he mentioned with creatorship, and she was like, what do you think about this? And so I was thinking about the question that she asked me, and I was posing an answer. And so long story short, she is another woman. She's a mom and a wife. And so we both value being able to create authentically and sustainably. And when I say that, I just mean creating in a way that doesn't require you to do too much. I don't make fashion content, but when I do an outfit of the day, I don't have like one corner of my house. I just kind of do the outfit with my background, however it is. I don't make a big fuss about setting up before my videos. I just kind of film, like I make sure that is not complete destruction around me. And for the time being, the best place for me to film is kind of in my little closet space, even though I'm working on this area, right? And so it's very easy and sustainable for me to create content because one, there's no big fuss around it. And most of the time it is when I move to create. Even when I'm batch creating, it is at the best possible time for myself. And I've set myself up for success by kind of remembering my thought processes with things. And then if there's ever a point in the day when I have this urgent idea that I need to record, I'll record it and just draft it, even if I don't post it in that moment. Very, very sustainable. And so building a business from my content creation has also been something that is very sustainable because it's not a money chase. It's not I need to do this, this, and this to make all of this money. It's more so a chase of effectiveness and efficiency in what I'm meaning to put out as my message. And so he had mentioned that her particular niche was not something that is necessarily profitable. And so we were talking about that, and I basically was saying how, there's a difference between a person who's a business owner and a person who's a content creator. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. A content creator is a person who creates content. Very simple. I believe I'm more of a content creator than a business owner. Although now at this point in my journey, I am venturing, something weird is going on with this camera. I'm venturing more so in the space of expanding and growing a business from my content creation. But that was not my initial thing. I was just creating content. And so when you're a content creator, you don't necessarily have a niche. And even if you have a niche, you are the product of your business because your product is your ability to put things out, and people gravitate towards that based on the attention that they give to your content. OG content creators are like the people who were doing natural hair on YouTube, the people who were making funny reaction videos. Think of your favorite content creator that doesn't necessarily have a business, but their presence is like their product, right? You're invested in them. That's more so what a content creator is. You get paid from viewership, more likely than not, brand deals, sponsorships, collaborations, things like that. But you're primarily getting your money from Google AdSense through YouTube, TikTok creator rewards through TikTok, and then the Meta program through Facebook and Instagram. So that's more so content creation. And content creation typically doesn't necessarily entail that person having a product that they themselves have created and sold, but they will be also influencing you in one particular direction or another. Whether it's if they're a hair content creator, they might be telling you what types of gels, oils, shampoos, conditioners, combs they use, hair products. If they do like fashion and capsule wardrobes and showing you how to style different things, the product might be linked in their LTK where they're showing you, hey, I put this on, I showed you this video with 12 different outfits, I put all the links over here for you, and they might get commission. I do that as well, but not necessarily LTK because most of the products that I offer outside of TikTok Shop are books. So I'll put like an Amazon link or something like that. But you'll also find that your content creators, aside from affiliate commissions, they might also do brand collaborations. So like a girl that you watch that does makeup, she might get a collaboration from e.l.f. Cosmetics, L'Oreal, Neutrogena, Maybelline, help. She might get one of those brands or any other number of brands, and those can be either paid or unpaid. But then once they start getting paid for those sponsorships, you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars. depending on what that content creator does. So that is a content creator. This is a person who creates content and they learn to navigate the space of content through attention marketing, grabbing people's attention, being attractive to their audience. And I'm not saying literally attractive as in how they look, attractive as a nature. Like people are drawn to their content because, again, the attention is what pays, because their leverage with their audience is what makes them valuable as a content creator. One, they have a really high engagement. Two, the companies that they're working with are confident that they're going to be effective in marketing their products to people and making them want to buy. And content creation doesn't always have to be brand sponsorship. Sometimes it is just, in the beginning, if you have no idea what you're doing, it's just going to be creating content and then eventually getting monetized through that platform, and it'll probably just go from there. At least that was my experience. I'm not going to say, some people are able to do like UGC and other things, which I don't have experience with, so I'm not going to speak on. But that is content creation. Whereas being a business owner, think about if you have a boutique, a brick and mortar business, even an online business, e-commerce store where you sell like hats, where you sell hair. Fashion Nova. Think Fashion Nova. Think the Hair Kingdom. Think who are some other popular brands like H&M, right? Those places started one way. Well, Fashion Nova I think did start online. I'm not sure. But those places are brick and mortars and they want to bring themselves online and to have a presence. Those are physical products. But think also about maybe your favorite content creator. I'm trying to think like podcasts, things like that. Well, no, a podcast will also be a content creator unless that podcast has a product or service. One example that I've mentioned here on this channel, Myron Golden is a business owner who creates content. What do I mean by that? He is selling products. He has a program where he can coach you to make more money. He can sharpen your skills. He has a program where he can teach you to make more offers. He sells books. He sells things, and he has taken the things that he has sold and he has made himself, he's positioned himself as an authority figure in an industry. So now he can market his products just by talking, making content and getting it out there. And now through content and all of his other means of production and marketing, he's able to monetize his content in that way as well. So if you ever come across a creator that teaches you something and then they say, oh, by the way, I have this ebook, and that's the stage that I'm in my business. I'm still primarily a content creator because I create around whatever it is that I want, but there are specific products depending on what video I'm making where I'm going to talk about that product. So if I'm just talking about something that I don't have a product for, but it's just my life experience, sometimes I might plug a product. If it's on TikTok Shop, I add the link for the book. If it's not on TikTok Shop, I'll tell you where you can find it. Most of the time I'll put a link in my bio, but I'll also give you the title. So if you don't feel like clicking the link and you want to do it later, whatever, right? But I do have two particular programs, and when I'm speaking about a topic in a video that applies to those programs, I will add that. So for instance, I talked about sponsoring yourself in a video. If I was doing a video about husbands and wives and I was telling you a specific type of thing that you could do to show up better in your relationship, I would say this video is sponsored by Wifey School. And Wifey School is a 5-day intensive. We meet every day on a Zoom call. We go through this, this, and this, and I would explain that, and then I would go back to the video. You've seen that in videos before where they say this video is sponsored by this company, and then they tell you all about the product. That is a content creator having a brand collaboration with a brand where that brand is paying them to promote their product to their audience. Instead of doing that as a business owner, you would be promoting your own product. So you would teach, if you were teaching people how to repair their credit and you did a video on how to sweep your credit in 30 days, these are the 3 things you need to do to get negative and derogatory marks off your credit in 30 days, right? That's the video. In the middle of that video, if you actually repair people's credit and you offer credit repair services, somewhere in that video, you're going to say either this video is sponsored by my Credit Sweep 360, or you're going to say like, click the link in my bio to download your free guide on how to get started with this process. And then you're going to do a brief explanation. But you see how you are a business owner and you promote your own products. Whereas a content, and you can be both. I'm just trying to explain the difference and explain how you can do both. But if you're primarily a business owner, chances are very slim that you're also going to be promoting other people's things unless they make sense. So let's say you're a podcaster and you're a podcaster who teaches well, you're a podcaster. So a good example of this is Callum Johnson. Callum Johnson is a podcaster who brings on guests that are great at helping people to build a brand. And I'm talking about all types of topics as far as brand building: women, men, big people in the industry, people who you've never heard of but are doing great things. His podcast is his product. He's a content creator in that regard. He just recently dropped merch. Another example, oh man, I can't say Omar's last name. I don't know how to say his last name and I don't want to butcher it. But Omar is another example. He's a business owner now, but he also creates content. And so in his content that he creates, he can market and promote his own brand within his content. But then he can also partner with people. It's just more likely than not, you're going to see him sponsoring himself in his videos. He's going to sponsor his own product. He has a content to cash program, right? So all of his videos, he's going to say, don't forget you can sign up for content to cash. Click the link in my bio, right? But every now and then he might have a video where he's like, this video is sponsored by Sony. Some people ask me how I get my videos and my audio so crisp. This is how I use this particular microphone. I use this, I use this, I use this. Guess what? They're giving you 10 to 20, 30% off if you use my code Omar blah blah blah, link in my bio. And so that is an example of somebody who's a business owner and a content creator. He promotes his business on his channel, but he also gets paid sponsorships. It's just that when you're a business owner, more likely than not, you're going to have fewer paid sponsorships and probably be marketing your own brand more. And you would just be doing those other sponsorships when one, it's genuinely something that your audience can use. So in the case of Omar, he's only promoting that because he knows that there's some pocket of his audience that probably wants to do YouTube videos, that probably wants to do a podcast. And hey, this can help them because this is exactly what I use. So it's not necessarily, oh, let me get this extra money. Like, yeah, it doesn't hurt, but it's an extension of him being value-based as a creator, where he's like, here, these are some more tools for you to use to be better, right? So it kind of has to make sense. And so if you're a content creator, you're looking at more so getting viewership money from sponsorships, money from products. And like what I do on TikTok Shop, I have like a handful of products that I always promote because I love them so much. Every now and then I have a product that I love a lot, but I don't promote it a lot because it just doesn't make sense. Like I got this and I use it as a sleeping shirt. I haven't promoted it yet, not because I hate it, but because I just haven't had the time to really think about how I want to creatively present the content for it, right? And so that's another aspect of it. But you can also, like I said, you can be both. You can be a business owner who brings their brand online and all of your content is about pushing your product. I'm actually going to put some good examples of each one of these in the video description for this video, but I really want people to understand the difference. So going back to what I was saying, the content creator that we were referring to who was talking about these topics is a business owner, and he doesn't have a product yet that he's necessarily going to sell, but you can kind of tell that he's warming up his audience to be able to take a product when he's ready to offer it. So right now he's a content creator, but if you pay attention, he's also like establishing himself as a point of authority about how to make money online very quickly, not avoid the mistakes that he made, and how to be effective and to the point, and how to pick the right niche. And so his advice, the reason this is important, once you figure out which one you want to be, content creator, business owner, or both, you'll learn what advice is applicable to you and what advice is not. So his advice would be to lean into things that are more lucrative for you and more obvious money makers, and kind of stay away from things that are not as easy to make money. And I'll tell you, it is easier, and this is why you see so many people doing this. It's easier to make money when you're teaching people how to make money. That's like no brainer, because people will pay you money to teach them to make money because it's an investment that's very obvious. I'm not saying people don't pay for other types of transformations, but that's probably one of the easiest. Another one is fitness. People can see the transformation. When you get into things that are more spiritual, when you get into things like what I do as far as like helping moms and wives, it's a little bit different. It's not that people are reluctant, but it's a different value system, and it's a different way of charging for these things. So for instance, if I can teach you how to make $100,000 in a year, I can easily charge you $1,000, $10,000 for a program if I know that my program is valuable and it'll get you to where you need to be. But if I'm teaching you to transform your life in a way that is less tangible, and that is more up here and that is not necessarily going to guarantee a result that you can reach out and touch. There's a little bit more convincing that has to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, because it's not, but it's different. And so the conversation that I was having was that some people will have to be okay with, not saying you're not going to make money, but understanding that the niche or the things that you talk about may not be as profitable in the beginning as someone else's. The value is in not quitting. The value is in doing it long term. And the example that I brought up, because the person I was talking to, she also does content around like helping moms to transform and like being the best mother, wife, individual. And so I was talking to her about like Martha Stewart, and I was like, girl, what Martha Stewart do? And I was like, in the beginning, what was she doing? The lady was a housewife. And now she's like a billionaire, I think, right? Or a multimillionaire, if not a billionaire. And she was not teaching people how to make money. She was cooking. And she did such a good job cooking and homemaking that she got a platform. And she was in magazines. And she has like housewares now and all of these things, because she decided to put herself out there and do it. And I'm like, I'm not saying you're going to be the next Martha Stewart if you're doing that, but what I am saying is that is how it can pay off for you in a way where you get sponsorships, placement on shows, placement in TV, all of these things. But also when you get that kind of placement, that kind of notoriety, you can also produce your own things. So it's not as lucrative in the short term, because maybe people don't necessarily want to buy your cookbook. Right? That doesn't mean you shouldn't make one, because maybe over the course of time they will. It's just a little bit different to market something like that than it is to market, because it's also emotional. You have to be realistic. Than it is to market something like how to start monetizing your social media in 30 days. That is more emotionally pulling to people, because how many people do you see online every day that are like, I'm posting a content, I want to make money, I want to be a content creator, I want to be a content creator. So think of how there's no such thing as saturation in that market, because everybody's after it, and more people will buy multiple products than they will just buy one product. So there's no saturation there. And there's also no saturation in any niche for that matter, but I'm saying as far as the money is concerned. So, and I'm not saying people are not going to buy your cookbook or your exercises or your wifey school or whatever. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's different in the way that it will be received, and it's different in the way that people will be willing to buy into it. And it's more important that a person buys into you even more so before they invest in their program, because they have to see that you can give them the transformation more than anything. And that's the case with making money online too, but I'm just explaining the difference. And so the point of me bringing that up was, one, don't get discouraged, because your experience is going to be different than other people's experience. And what I really want to bring home here, I talk mostly to women, and if you're a woman, I want your ears to perk up and listen to me right now. Women and men are different. I do listen to men in the space of improving my content and things like that, but I think like a woman in that regard. You have to do this too. You have to understand that some messages are not for you. And this is not misogynistic. This is not saying women are not able. I think that a woman can do and hustle and make money just like a man, but I do think that it plays different on her psyche. I think that women who are hyper vigilant and hyper independent in that regard, when they need to, they do it because they need to, but they are more likely to burn out when they are not fully supported in those roles. Fully supported meaning if she's a mom and a wife and she has these other things going on and she does not have the support that she needs around her, people lifting her up, like full care with, like she needs a compromising husband that's going to help her with those children, so she's not always in that primary role of parenting. She's going to need mental support. She's going to have to not feel like she has to outperform other people, and that's not necessarily going to happen. So yes, she can make as much money as the guy and she can do really well in leadership, but what I'm saying is if she's not supported in the way that a woman needs to be supported, as successful as she can be, she might feel more burned out because she doesn't have that community that she needs. Whereas men don't necessarily need to rest in the same way that we do. Why am I telling you this? Because you need to understand that when you're listening to content creators about these things, you have to perk up and listen to your experience as well. So what I'm saying about this guy, and I'm not saying anything that he says is bad, but I'm saying in this regard, his advice to tell somebody, especially a woman, like, oh, that's not going to be profitable, great advice. But the underlying thing is, as a woman and as a creator, your goal is not to be profitable. And the person that I was talking to, she was like, you know, Myron says that, he says to focus on the passion and the mission, and the money will follow. And I was like, yeah, that's much better advice, because if you're trying to work, you got to also understand where you are. If you're trying to work yourself out of a hole, or you're trying to hurry up and make money, that's different. Do what you got to do to make your money if that's what you need to do. But if you're building something that is sustainable and that you want to do over the course of a long time, don't just do something just to make money, because you're going to burn out and it's not going to last long, right? And so that's the difference. And as I was saying, for women, why I wanted your ears to perk up is because we are so different. We are not, I'm not saying you don't work. we do work, but we work in a different way. And so when I talk about building sustainable content, that's what I mean. It seems like I'm like online all the time, but that's because I'm always in a space of creative flow. And I'm able to take that overflow of creativity and use it to my advantage, to space it out, to put content here, to put content there. When I feel like writing, I end up writing a whole bunch of blog posts, and then I end up having like 8 or 9 blog posts. Well, that's like 2 months worth of blogs. Sometimes I feel like filming 3 different topics, and I don't stop myself. I'll film them. I just don't post them at one time. I draft them, or I post them to my YouTube and I schedule them. And then when I feel like decorating thumbnails, I do it. Right? But then some stuff is just copy and paste. Like if you go look at this YouTube channel, most of my captions are copy and paste. And the only thing I update is like how many followers and subscribers I have in the next phase. And so it's really important to remember that as a woman, be wary of the advice that you take from a man who is all about the hustle, because maybe that's not going to benefit you. But anyway, tying it all together, it is very important to know, especially if you're just starting out, if you're going to be a content creator, a business owner, or a little bit of both. I do believe that every content creator should have a product of some sort, even if it's free, just so that you can have access to your audience offline. And when I say product, I mean it can be a blog, it can be a newsletter, it can be 10 of my best skincare tips, it can be 5 steps to grow your hair long and healthy, it can be whatever. One of my free products is 5 signs you're headed for divorce court. 5 signs you're headed for divorce court. And again, what that does is that's a downloadable thing that people can download. They give you their email, and now you can still commune with them and you can still chat with them. Not necessarily always selling them something, because a lot of my emails are just, hey, I thought you should know this. Hey, I saw this video and I thought about you. Hey, I thought that this was valuable. Even here, I have a product where if you download those products, I will email you. I'll email you if I do a newsletter. I'll email you if I saw a cool video, if I found a new format that might work for you, anything, right? Sometimes I'll email you like, hey, I did this and it worked for me. Here's the link. But it's really important to establish that understanding so that you know what you're doing. Don't stress out about it. Nothing that I ever tell you is meant to stress you out. Just take the information, put it in your back pocket until you need it. And I will see you in the next video.